Thanks. So just to introduce myself briefly, I'm a child psychiatrist and a faculty member at Sorbonne University and Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris, here in Paris. I do clinical work and research in the areas of early onset psychosis, rare diseases with psychiatric expression and learning disability. I am a member of the Engage Cost Action Project. So, early onset psychosis often progresses to chronic schizophrenia spectrum disorders, which usually require lifelong antipsychotic medication. It is therefore important to rule out diagnosable medical and genetic causes or contributing factors, especially the ones that can be treated to modify the course of illness. The goal of this talk are to review some of these factors. We will focus today on genetic syndromes, inborn errors of metabolism, and autoimmune or infectious diseases. Then I will present our recommendation of early onset psychosis patients. So more details about this issue can be found in the reference shown there, Gianitelli et al., Schizophrenia Research 2018. This is a list of diagnostic categories to rule out and that are more likely to contribute to early onset psychosis. Today, I will focus on the first 4 categories. We will start with inborn errors of metabolism, which are genetic mutations, often autosomal recessive disorders, which alter metabolic functions. The table here lists the disorder in this category that are most likely to present with psychotic symptoms. I have grouped them according to the available treatments, medication, diet, or stem cells transplantation. There are also gene therapy trials in process for some IEMs. The right column of the table mentions some additional details about treatments or mechanism. These disorders are examples of which detecting treatable medical causes of psychotic is so important. So in each category, I have selected one example to discuss in more detail. So in Niemann-Pick type C, autosomal recessive mutation cause shortage of the NPC1 and NPC2 proteins, which are involved in the transport of cholesterol and other lipids within cells. This leads to lipid accumulation in lysosomes. Patients gradually develop abnormal movements such as dystonia and coordination problems later, such as ataxia. There is often an inability to move eyes vertically, and that's called vertical supranuclear gaze palsy. There can be enlarged spleen and liver, lung disease, and progressive speech and swallowing problems. Patients experience cognitive decline and sometimes epilepsy. In the brain, the accumulation of glycosphingolipids lead to abnormal development of dendrite. NPC can be treated with miglustat, which inhibits the synthesis of glycophospholipid. sphingophospholipid. So another category, that's other genetic syndrome, despite higher IEM. Next, donc, we will discuss this syndrome, genetic syndrome. So I included this slide to remind you that the spectrum of pathogenic mutation varies according to factors. The mutation frequency on the x-axis here, that's shown on the x-axis here, and their penetrance is shown on the y-axis. Here we are discussing the upper left corner of the smaller figure, so the purple one. So these mutations have remained very rare because they are highly penetrant and they impair survival and reproduction. So as I said, the purple circle in the graph. So the table lists some of the genetic disorders that are more likely to be frequent with psychosis. They include the 6% of Huntington's disease cases with onset in childhood Huntington disease due to trinucleotide repeat expansion, chromosomal abnormality such as Klinefelter and Turner syndromes, and the CNVs that are frequently associated with schizophrenia and related disorders. In this meeting, as you have seen, Professor Anne Bassett will discuss 22q11.2 deletion, and Professor Maïté Taubert will be discussing Prader-Willi syndrome. So here, as an example, I want to discuss CNVs in 1q21.1 duplication as an example, duplication or deletion. Both deletion and duplication in this region are associated with increased risk of schizophrenia. They are also present with micro or macrocephaly respectively, and with a range of developmental and behavioral problems. In this slide, the top section shows that in this region of almost 2 megabases, there are 2 subregions, each surrounded by segmental duplication, which can result in deletion or duplication of one or both subregions. So to the left is the star region where deletion causes thrombocytopenia and absence radius syndrome. To the right is the distal 1q21 region where deletion or duplication causes neuropsychiatric syndrome, which can include schizophrenia. These photographs, also from Brunetti Pieri as a figure previously shown. So these photographs show the typical facial appearance of deletion and duplication patients. In deletion patients, a common feature including frontal bossine and deep-set eyes and bulbous nose are seen. Sorry, my mouse didn't work on the computer. Yes. In duplication patients, we often see wide-set eyes and frontal bossine hypertelorism. So we recently published an interesting case of 1q21.1 duplication in a 10-year-old boy with features that has not been described previously, and that you can see on the table, but which might not have been evaluated fully in other cases of 1q21 duplication. IQ testing demonstrates excellent verbal functioning, but very poor non-verbal performance with an almost 60-point difference between verbal comprehension and proceeding speed. The boy was not autistic. There were severe impairments in attention, verbal memory, phonology, and other aspects of oral expression. Motor development and coordination and visual-spatial integration and memory were also affected. He had atypical psychosis features with mild thought disorder. CNV tend to have complex disorders. CNV patients tend to have complex disorder with variable impairments in many domains. Ideally, they require very individualized treatment plans to address this impairment. So now, finally, we will discuss autoimmune and infectious disorder. The table lists the autoimmune and infectious disorders that are most likely to present with psychotic symptoms. The autoimmune category includes anti-NMDA receptors, encephalitis, lupus, and autoimmune thyroid disease. The infectious category includes Lyme disease caused by Borrelia infection due to tick bites, as well as toxoplasmosis and encephalitis caused by diverse viruses such as herpes. So anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis, as an example, I will discuss this, which can sometimes respond dramatically to treatment. Autoantibodies to the NR1 subunit of the NMDA receptor cause brain inflammation, swelling, and disruption of neural signaling. The incidence is unknown, but one large study of encephalitis in California found that anti-NMDA was the most common etiology detected in 5 to 10% of cases. The slide lists the signs that are more common in the prodromal onset and progression phases. Catatonia and psychosis are common. Fortunately, if this disorder is diagnosed early, it can be treated with corticosteroid plus intravenous immunoglobulin, or with plasma exchange, or with immunosuppressant. Here are some pictures of the effect of anti-NMDA receptors encephalitis on the brain of a patient who presented with acute manic and psychotic features that progressed to catatonia. Here we see, so on the left of the pictures, shown by the red arrow, the typical small hyper-intensities, very small, the white spot. And on the right side, we see widespread regions of hypometabolism on a PET scan. On the left frontal temporal cortex, as well on the hippocampic, bilateral. So this particular patient was treated acutely with 13 plasma exchange treatments combined with prednisone, which is a steroid, and with cyclophosphamide, which is an immunosuppressant drug. At the time of treatment, her IQ scores were very low, She had been functioning well in high school before the onset. She was treated with IV immunoglobulin for 10 additional months. And during that time, her IQ returned to the high average range. Her psychiatric disorder resolved completely. So we have discussed the first 4 categories with some examples of each one. We do not have time to review the other 4 categories today. But I would like to briefly present our algorithm for evaluating organic factors in children and adolescents with psychotic disorders. More details are available in our paper by Gianni Taylor et al. That I mentioned at the beginning of the talk. In developing this algorithm, we consider both the frequency of each disorder and whether it could be treated. This slide and the next one list the tests that we recommend for routine evaluation of all new onset, early onset patients. And the third slide lists some additional tests when there are specific indications. Here we have general medical screening tests with a particular focus on several tests related to some of the disorders we have discussed, such as autoimmune and thyroid diseases and 22q deletion syndrome. We also perform a DNA microarray routinely when the family gives consent to detect CNVs, and a MRI and EEG for neurological screening. The test shown here included screening tests for lupus, autoimmune thyroid disease, and Lyme disease. But most of the tests on this slide are for specific inborn errors of metabolism, which are rare but treatable, which makes them particularly important to detect. Keep in mind that some of these IEMs can have onset later in childhood or even into adulthood. Here we have listed some of the tests that should be considered in specific situations when there are indications that make this disorder more likely. For example, when there is an acute onset that suggests viral or autoimmune encephalitis. Obviously, this is not a complete list. Sorry. There are many rare diseases that can present with psychotic feature, but there are some of the tests that we consider most often. Finally, I would like to show you the results of this type of comprehensive medical and genetic screening in our cohort of 160 consecutive child and adolescent cases with psychotic symptoms that were initially diagnosed in the schizophrenia spectrum. So out of the 160 patients, 20 patients, 12.5%, in 20 patients, organic factors were detected that probably cause or contribute to psychosis. 9 schizophrenia associated with CNVs, 4 other note that the rate of 22q11.2 deletion here is not typical. A tertiary care rare disease clinic is more likely to receive referrals with suspected features of 22q deletion syndrome. So there were 4 other genetic syndromes, 3 autoimmune disorders, 1 CNS lupus, and 2 with catatonic feature and likely encephalopathy, presumed to be autoimmune disorder because they are remitted with plasmapheresis. And 2 IEMs, Niemann-Pick type C and Hunter syndrome. So when psychiatrists are told that routine screening of new cases is too expensive, we should answer that even 3% of adults with lung or breast cancer had subtypes that could be easily treated, then screening for them will be adopted immediately. The same should be true for new onset psychotic disorder. Genetic testing is a major component of a rational medical evaluation of those patients. Thank you. And so there are the people who have collaborated in the work that I have discussed today. I will particularly mention Dr. Mariana Gianitelli, a child psychiatrist in her department who was the first author of a review paper on medical factor in early onset psychosis.